Hi everyone, welcome to another weekly tip from SHIFTLog. For those of you who are new to the channel, the purpose here is to talk about SAP EAM products and their features with the view of helping you in your day-to-day work so that you can get the best out of SAP. And the product that I have selected today is SAP Service and Asset Manager, SAP Mobile Solution for engineers and technicians to be used in the field. From this point onwards, I'm going to refer to as SAM, Service and Asset Manager. And the feature that I'm going to talk about is dynamic forms. Before I jump into the system and show you what dynamic form is and how to use it, I thought it's a good idea to talk about its use cases and why companies should be thinking about dynamic forms and how it comes handy when it comes to work management process. The purpose of the dynamic forms functionality is to convert all the forms or the documents that are used in the work management process, like health and safety forms, work handover forms, or permit forms, into a digital format so that technicians and engineers can fill them out while they're in the field doing their job within SAM itself. If you really think about it, every company has their forms documentation to be used in the maintenance execution process. The purpose could be the same, like safety forms. The purpose is exactly the same everywhere. However, its format is very different. So if you do not have a functionality like dynamic forms, then all of that have to be built in SAM, which is quite costly and time-taking, and it's not a sustainable solution for SAP client. And that's a very reason why dynamic forms have been introduced. With dragging and dropping fields, the forms can be designed fairly quickly, and the whole platform is built with that purpose. With that out of the way, let's jump into system and see how dynamic forms work. What you're looking at now is my mobile screen. In fact, my mobile tablet screen projected to my laptop. So you're looking at SAP Service and Asset Manager. If you see, if I turn my tablet around to landscape mode, it changes to landscape mode. So I'm going to keep it in landscape mode so that it helps me to explain and showcase things better. On the top of the screen, you see that summary, which says that I have no work orders in progress, but I do have 7 work orders to work on. I do have 1 completed work order. In the middle, I have these all my 7 work orders, which I can swipe left and right and get to whatever the work order that I want to. For today's session, I'm going to select the very first work order, gearbox overheating issue. Moment I click that, it takes me to the work order. Very briefly, in the middle, I have the asset-related details. Just below that, I have the operations. If I go further down, you see that there are 2 forms here. These are the 2 dynamic forms assigned to this particular work order. So one is a safety form, the other one is a feedback form. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and start clocking in, which says I have started my work, and then I'm going to open my safety form. If I click here, it opens up the safety form. Now I'm going to turn my tablet around to portrait so that I can articulate this well. So you see the bulk of the form in this way, health and safety form. At the top, there are a few fields which talks about a work order. Then in the middle, you have some questions which a technician or engineer has to fill out. And then towards the end, you have the signature. So if I put my focus on the work order details section, as you could see, what it does is it introduces few fields and the data related to the work order gets pulled in and automatically populated. Why? Because this form in that case serves its own purpose. Even if somebody prints this form out from the work order and then share with somebody else who doesn't have SAP system access, this information connects that form to the work order. So it's a lot more easier to consume. If I assume myself as the engineer or the technician in the field, I'm going to go ahead and fill this form. Okay, this is a health and safety questionnaire. I'm going to say yes, 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 yes. Okay, I'm going to fill that and put my signature in here and save. So the form has been updated, and what I'm going to do now here is go ahead and complete this. Moment I complete the form, you see that it catches the status completed. When I sync this work order, what will happen is this form automatically gets converted to a PDF and gets attached to the work order. which means later on, if an auditor looks at the work order, anybody looks at the work order and interested in seeing whether the engineer or the technician or the maintenance process in general follows the right practices in terms of filling up the right forms at the right time, such as safety forms, that straight away they are available within the work order to consume. You could print that out, send it to anyone, because all the information related to that is there. If I open the second form, which is a feedback form, which usually is filled in this particular case towards the end of the work, but just for the demonstration purposes, if I open this up, you see its format is very different. That's the beauty of it. You can set up the forms exactly the way you want to retrieve the information that you want from the field. And any number of forms that you have in the company can be set up. With that, I believe you have gotten a good idea about the capabilities of dynamic forms and its use cases. But if you have any further questions or anything else that you would like to know, please let us know. We will factor that into a future episode. As always, thank you ever so much for joining in, and I'll see you next time.